Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for being here. We got a great program for you today. To prepare for the 4th of July weekend, we have a special patriotic program. Please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Sons of American Revolution. Color Guard, advance the colors. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color Guard, you may post the colors and retire.
Color bearers, well, please, hold the colors. Port arms. Color Guard, well, please. Right, hey, at the health step. Forward, work.
Enjoy your lunch, enjoy your fellowship. We'll be back with you in a little bit. Before we start our program, I got a few announcements, and before we have the announcements, we're going to hear about our guests. Thank you for being here. Come back anytime.
Thank you. Before I start, the Sons of the Revolution have asked that you pick up brochures on the back table there. So please do that. Now, if I mention your name as a guest, would you please stand up so we can give you a warm Kiwanis welcome? Gilbert Smith, Judge Gilbert Smith, has as his guest Donna McCammon. Where are you, Donna? Welcome. Also as his guest, Sean Flynn, Esquire. Sean Allison has as his guest from BBT Bank, Mike Ludwig. Mike, where are you? Representing Johnson Photography, we have Lily Sisay? Sisay, is that close? And representing the Boys and Girls Club, well, actually, he brought his gang with him, Keenan Wooten. Christy Cardello has as her guest her cohort in crime, Angie Oxley. Representing Easter Seals is Nicole Murphy. And we have three really good-looking Manatee High School key clubbers here today, and I want you to notice how well they're dressed. We have the treasurer, Chris Fleck. Where are you, Chris? Very nice. The president, Courtney Wash. Where are you, Courtney? Welcome. And also Tara Garner. Welcome to all of you. Hope you'll come back and visit us real soon.
All right, a few announcements before we begin our program. Not sure if you saw in the newspaper last week, it was 2 weeks ago, about the poor woman who lost her deposit when the guy skipped town. She was going to have a Quinceanera. I have a hard time saying that word. And she lost her deposit and was in a real pickle. She had 150 people coming to town. They'd already made arrangements. She'd already made all these plans, and he took off with her money. Well, because of some very generous people, including you, Bradenton Kiwanis, Janine Witham with the players here, and Greg with Pier 22, we were able to pull together a lot of good-hearted, community-minded citizens and rescued her quinceanera. I'd like to pay special tribute to Greg with Pier 22. They're providing all the food free of cost, free of charge to this woman, so that's a huge, huge benefit. And thank you, Janine, for stepping up. I guess you're going to kind of host the thing on Saturday? All right. Well, thank you for doing that. That was a great, great ending to a terrible, terrible story. All right, a few other announcements. Speaking of good and caring hearts, I'm going to turn it over to Roland, who's got some announcements about some very generous Kiwanians. Okay. While he's coming up, Neil with Anderson Race Park has discount race cards. He gave out a few of them a few weeks ago. He's got more of them this week. It's a very generous discount, so thank you, Neil. If you want a discount race card at Anderson Race Park, see Neil. He's got plenty of them. Roland?
Lower the mic. Couple of quick announcements, some people I want to recognize. First of all, I'd like to recognize Lori Fox for her continued generous contribution to the foundation. Lori, would you stand? Could we give her a round of applause? In addition to Lori, we got a leadership gift for Christmas in August from Hancock Bank, and I'd like to thank Brian Ruggiero for spearheading that effort towards us. Brian, could you stand to be recognized? And lastly, a super gift from Terracon Corporation. I'd like to ask Scott Parrish to come forward along with Karen Carpenter, John Tucker, and Ed, if we could get a photograph of them. Scott spearheaded the Terracon grant, which helped bring in $2,500 as a sponsor for Christmas in August. Great thing, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And, you know, it's one of those things you don't have to do it, but you do it. And I can't thank Scott and Terracon Company enough for taking leadership in something that we consider very special to our Kiwanians.
Let's hear it for Scott.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you, Scott. And I have to say this, if any of you have companies like Terracon that want to give back through Christmas in August, please let me either email me or call me. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, Scott. Thank you again, Hancock Bank. Speaking of caring hearts, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had Meredith Roberts, a 17-year-old who created her own nonprofit to help homeless students with toiletries and other necessities. She says, "Dear members of Bradenton Kiwanis, thank you for inviting me to be a speaker at the May meeting to highlight my Sophie project. The money collected was used to purchase personal hygiene products for the homeless students of Manatee County. Thank you for the golden ruler. It will be very useful as I head off to college. Sincerely, Meredith Roberts." So, well done. All right, a few other quick announcements. Sharon, you've got something coming up to tell us about? All right, thank you, Sharon. And I've been contacted by the Rays Baseball Organization and would like to know if we are interested in putting together a ticket group for a upcoming Rays game. If anybody's interested in that or wants to spearhead that, I would absolutely be in. So if somebody wants to spearhead that, I have the contact information. See me after the meeting. And finally, we've already welcomed them last week, but I want to continue to welcome Paul and Pam and Chuck Howard and Diana Dill, our newest members. Welcome to the Kiwanis family. Thank you for being here. Did I say Pam? It's Dawn, right? Dawn. Anyway, welcome. Thank you for being here. All right, we got a wonderful program. I'm going to turn things over to Judge Smith in just a moment. Today we welcome an awesome program. We have President Richard Mahaffey, Saramana chapter of the Sons of American Revolution, along with Commander Kenneth Aubrey, past president, Harold Crapo Jr., flag bearer, John Fitzpatrick, Board of Governors member, Joseph Rhine, past president, Victor McMurray, and compatriot Gilbert Smith, who will begin our awesome patriotic 4th of July program. Gilbert? Oh, I also have my own hat.
Next week, we are celebrating the 240th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence by our founding fathers in Philadelphia. On July 4th each year, we take time to pause and reflect upon the brave founding fathers of our young nation who wagered their fame and fortune upon our new country. Many of you had ancestors who fought in the war, some who lost their lives for our freedom. We hope today the Sons of American Revolution will encourage you to celebrate this holiday with patriotism. President Richard Mahaffey will get us started.
Greetings from the 150-plus members of the Saramana chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. My name is Dick Mahaffey, and I'm the 43rd president. I know that Kiwanis is an international service club, much like Rotary, of which I've been a member since 1967. We both do a lot of good in the communities and worldwide. I recall that locally, the Kiwanis established and continues to support the Pines Nursing Home in Sarasota, and Manatee has provided an ongoing funding program for the players to enjoy this facility. I ran a nonprofit thrift store in Sarasota that the Siesta Key Kiwanis helped with funding, and several board members to provide guidance. Today, we would like to tell you the story of how we try to make our history of our founding fathers and its revolution does not get lost. Well, first, compatriot Harold Crapo will give you this history of the SAR. Compatriot Joe Rhine will discuss the youth programs. And lastly, compatriot Registrar Ken Apri will enlighten you on the various uniforms that were worn by our revolutionary ancestors. As you can see, there are several different types of uniforms being worn today. Thank you.
Mr. President, distinguished members and guests, ladies and gentlemen. What is the SAR? The Sons of the American Revolution, more commonly known as the SAR, was organized by a William McDowell at Fraunces Tavern in New York on April 30th, 1889, and that tavern is still there. This was the centennial for the inauguration of General Washington as the first president of the United States of America in 1789. He wanted the society to be a mass movement of descendants of revolutionary patriots rather than a social club. The SAR was formally granted a congressional charter by the Act of Congress on June 9th in 1906. The act was signed by President Theodore Roosevelt, who was a member. McDowell also worked with 6 women to organize the National Society, the Daughters of the American Revolution, on July 29th in 1890. Evidently, he remembered the famous "Don't Forget the Ladies, John" letter written by Abigail Adams to John Adams while he was working on papers in the Continental Congress. The SAR was designed with specific goals in mind, which include historical, educational, and patriotic nonprofit efforts seeking to maintain and extend the institutions of American freedom, an appreciation for true patriotism, a respect for our national symbols, the value of American citizenship, and the unifying force of e pluribus unum, which has created from the people of many nations one nation and one people. All of these elements are evidenced in every SAR activity. They are designed and conducted to help perpetuate the understanding and reverence for the precious freedoms that we, as Americans, enjoy. Who may belong? Membership in the society is open to any male of good repute who can prove lineal bloodline descent from an ancestor who actively supported the American Revolution. Acceptable ancestors include military veterans of the American Revolution, including those who served in the Continental Army, Continental Navy, state militias, and navies, signers of the Declaration of Independence, members of the Continental Congress, civilians who provided arms or supplies to the American cause, people who served on political bodies supporting the revolution, signed oaths of allegiance, or those who gave similar support to the patriot cause, soldiers and sailors from allied nations, such as France and Spain, who fought in support of our American independence. The SAR claims a membership of over 33,000 members in more than 500 chapters representing all 50 states in the United States, as well as societies in Canada, Mexico, France, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. Overall, approximately 175,000 descendants have been admitted to the SAR since the founding in 1890. The SAR has a new genealogical library established in 2010 with over 58,000 items located in the heart of the historic museum district of downtown Lexington, Kentucky. The library provides access to online research databases, including Ancestry.com, Footnote.com, and others. Why is the SAR necessary? The SAR organization, it helps to stimulate American historical interest among the youth of our country through the conduct of research concerning how America came into being and the formation of the United States of America. It helps our young adults, the future leaders of our country, to realize if you don't know where you came from and how you got to where we are today, how can we intelligently plan for the future? The young contest participants consistently display a spirit of pride that is written all over their face whenever they successfully complete their assignments, whether it's receiving a medal for leadership in JROTC or good citizenship in the social studies groups, or receiving a monetary award for excellence for historical research. Their response is priceless, something that money can't buy. And now, compatriot Joseph Ryan will discuss the different programs we have, and thank you for your kind attention. I didn't hear any snoring.
Thank you, Harold. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon as we approach the 240th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. You will recall the last sentence in the Declaration, wherein 56 of the signers pledged their allegiance and their fortunes, their lives, and their sacred honor. There were 5 of those signers who were captured by the British because they were deemed to be traitors. they were tortured, and they died. Like Kiwanis, we have very active youth educational programs. Our programs are designed to perpetuate the history of the beginnings of our country. We have 8 such programs. We compete at the chapter level. The winner from the chapter level goes on and competes at the state level, and the state winner competes at the national level. These awards range from the beginning, a poster contest for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. We have a brochure contest for middle school students. The students in the brochure contest deal with the foundational documents of the United States: the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Federalist Papers, and the Bill of Rights. Explicit procedures must be followed both in the poster contest and in the brochure, such as the size of the poster. And incidentally, the poster people are not allowed to take anything off the internet. It all must be freehand. They're judged on content, creativity, and correctness. Let me ask you, if you were to meet with a group of your friends for about 45 minutes and discuss any of those programs or articles in the brochure contest, how do you think you might do? You need not answer. At the high school level, we have an essay contest of 800 to 1,200 words designed to explore events that shaped American history. Eagle Scouts compete in a 500-word patriotic essay. A chapter, state, and national winner could receive as much as $10,000 to $12,000 plus travel expenses. As mentioned, we have a junior ROTC program. It fosters the principle of the citizen soldier, exemplified by the Minutemen of the Revolutionary War days. They're judged on leadership, military bearing, and general excellence. The cadet must be in the top 10% of his or her junior ROTC class and in the top 25% of the overall class. And the essay topic they handle is, how has a junior ROTC prepared me to be a better citizen? And last but not least is our historical oration contest. It's a very rigorous exercise. It explores the influence of the Revolutionary War on present-day America. It originated in 1945 when an SAR member introduced this creative exercise in a Cincinnati senior high school. The oration must be original, of not less than 5 minutes or more than 6 minutes. It must deal with an event, a personality, or a document pertaining to the Revolutionary War. And this is the most important part, and I think the difficult part of this assignment. It must show a relationship to America today. It must be essentially the same as a submitted manuscript. And a contestant is judged on the quality of the manuscript and the ability to deliver it. They're judged by 3 judges from the chapter who are located throughout the audience, unknown to the contestants. And as you might expect, the penalties apply for going outside the time limit or a significant deviation from the manuscript. The chapter award for the winner is $1,000, the state $1,000, and national $4,000, for a total of $6,000 plus travel expenses. Now, while this contest is open to all high school students, we have found that only members of a high school debating team truly qualify. And so it's limited to 1 contestant from each of these high schools as selected by the faculty debate coach or sponsor. We've had 4 contestants compete at the chapter level in the last several years, and over the years we've had a number of winners at the state contest. My favorite oration was delivered by the captain of the Sarasota High School debating team. The title was The Constitution in the 21st Century, in which she emphasized education. Thomas Jefferson had received a letter from his friend William C. Jarvis, who was an American diplomat, suggesting that the American people might not be enlightened enough to vote. Jefferson, as you know, the founder of the University of Virginia, believed that the ultimate power rested in an educated American public. And let me quote briefly a part of his letter to Jarvis. Quote, "If we think them not enlightened enough to exercise their control with a wholesome discretion, the remedy is not to take it from them, but to inform their discretion by education." In my view, this is even more applicable today. In closing, I would like to make a personal observation. If you are concerned about the future of our country, don't be. Working with and being associated with these bright, well-mannered, and educated young people who aspire to leadership roles in the community, in public service, the armed services, the professions, and in business, we will be just fine. Thank you. And now, compatriot Ken Aubrey will enlighten you on the various uniforms worn during that period. Thank you. Sorry. As you get a little older, that wears on you.
Thank you very much, Joe. And thank the Kiwanis for inviting us to celebrate our independence with you. Before I begin, I'd like to just let you know with a statistic of how small the group was that guaranteed our independence. During the Revolutionary War, about 231,000 men served in the Continental Army, also known as the Continental Line. About 20,000 served at any one given time. Upwards of 145,000 served in the various militias and minute units. A small group for what we have today. But I'm going to talk about clothing worn. The clothing worn by our patriots during the first year of the American Revolution was simply a cross-section of the different fashions and styles of civilian clothes worn by New Englanders. Some uniformity did exist in the more affluent militia companies. Following the Battle of Bunker Hill, attempts were made to create a uniform for the Patriot force. But the majority of the patriots that served in 1775 wore their own civilian clothing. The hunting shirt worn by most American forces was an unknown garment to the New Englanders. Prior to the arrival of the famed frontier riflemen from Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland, the army George Washington commanded at Cambridge was destitute and lacked proper clothing. In an effort to cheaply and effectively clothe his troops, General Washington attempted to outfit the newly formed Continental Army with the hunting shirt. However, the hunting shirt was not adapted as a uniform until 1776. General Washington commented on the hunting shirt. It brings terror to the enemy, who think every such soldier so dressed is an expert marksman. The hunting shirts were not worn by the New England patriots who fought at Lexington, Concord, and Bunker Hill, and the Siege of Boston. They wore whatever civilian clothing they had on during the time that they were called out. A man's shirt during the 18th century was considered his underwear. In public, a shirt was rarely worn without a waistcoat or a jacket over it. A man dressed in public only wearing a shirt was considered naked by 18th century standards. Some aspects of our military service required men to strip down to their shirts to comfortably perform manual labor. The length of the hunting shirt tended to be long because the shirt was not just worn in the daytime, but also doubled as a nightgown. Additionally, shirts were made long because for many men, the shirt was their only form of underwear. Hats, civilian hats range from the very simple and cheap to the extravagant, trimmed in gold and silver, dressed with a cockade, which I have on my hat. Vic, would you stand up with your hat? And Vic has one on his hat. And sometimes adorned with ostrich feathers, as Vic's is now. In some Patriot militia and minute companies, cockades of different colors, again, this little thing we wore on our hat, was designated the rank and was worn on the hats of officers and non-commissioned officers. Coats and jackets were worn over the shirt and waistcoat. Typically, the coat were constructed of wool, linen, velvet, silk, or fabric blends. Jackets were considered a working class garment and were commonly made of wool. Stockings were worn with both knee breeches and trousers. Stockings came up over the knee and were secured either with a cloth or a leather garter that tied or buckled them. The style of men's shoes common to the time period were low quarter, black leather shoes with buckles or ties. Most shoes of this time period were straight lasted. No defined difference between the shoes were made for the right or the left foot. Laced up ankle high half boots was also worn, favored by gentlemen hunters, horsemen, and military officers. The uniforms worn by our color guard reflect the types of uniforms that were in vogue during the Revolutionary War. After Valley Forge, the Continental Congress made some funds available to George Washington, but still less than half of the Continental Army was in uniform. Most officers' uniforms were purchased by the wearer and for the most part were their own design. General Washington chose the buff and blue because it contrasted with the British redcoats. It was a simple uniform he wore during most of the war. And it's a uniform that I have on now. The only difference was he had 3 stars on each shoulder as a lieutenant general. In the end, the militia uniforms was worn by most frontline troops and reflected the civilian soldier's contribution to the victory achieved by our citizen soldiers. I'd like for our color guard members to stand up and let you have a look at their uniforms, and you can see the variety. And Vic has the uniform probably which most militia wore. It was whatever they had on at the time they were called out. And these other fancy guys probably on uniform. Thank you, fellas. Thank you all very much. Okay, hey, hold on, just taking a picture. Thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Dick, our current president.
I really want to thank the Kiwanis for inviting us here. Judge Smith, thank you. I know I enjoyed myself. I hope everybody else did. I hope we enlightened you just a little bit about what goes on with the Sons of the American Revolution. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, let's hear it for the Sons of the American Revolution. That was an excellent program. I certainly wasn't familiar with that group. Thank you for keeping our history alive. Thank you for all you do for the youth in our community. Let's hear it once again for this amazing organization. Special thank you to my friend Gilbert Smith for choreographing this program. Thank you, Gilbert. Let's hear it for him. All right, and just a few brief announcements before we get on our way. Again, thank you to Scott Parrish and Tarragon and Hancock Bank for your generous contribution to Christmas in August. We very, very much appreciate your generosity. Speaking of Christmas in August, it's August 6th, as you know. We're collecting backpacks and school supplies, so see Gretchen in the back if you have any questions about that. See Neil if you'd like a discount race park card. Thank you, Neil, for providing those. See me if you have any interest in spearheading a group to a Rays game in the coming weeks. Thank you to all our guests for being here. It was awesome to have you. Feel free to come back anytime. We'd love it if you joined our great group here. We have wonderful people, wonderful food, awesome, awesome programs. I think that's it. Have a great, safe, and patriotic 4th. Thank you. See you next week.